Cloud. Um, Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Battle of the Books 2022 coaches meeting. Just to let you know, we are recording this, so if you have to leave early or if you know of people who cannot attend this evening, this is being recorded and will be on our website sometime early next week. So look on the Battle of the Books page for this recording. And just so you know, this is in a webinar format. So the only cameras that are on are the three of us, myself, Simone, and Carrie, and participants are also muted, so it is not you, it is us. And so tonight we're going to go through some basics of Battle of the Books. And again, because we are in the middle of a global pandemic, there are lots of questions that we are not 100% sure of the answers to yet. We are working with the school system and the county, following guidance from those two areas. So there are some things that are still in very, very light pencil. And once we know things more definitely, we will definitely get the information out to you. As far as just some housekeeping, if you have a technical question, you can put it in the chat. If you have a question about the battle or about something that you want further clarification on, there is a Q&A button, and please put your questions in there, and those questions will be answered after Simone does the PowerPoint presentation. It's just hard to be able to check both places, the chat and the Q&A. So if we could please put the questions about the battle in the Q&A, and that way we can keep better track. And again, thank you for volunteering to be coaches for your child or your students' Battle of the Books team. We're very excited to be able to do this again this coming year. And I'm going to pass along to Simone so she can get started.
Thank you, Stacy. Can you hear me clearly? You're still muted. I am going to just turn off my camera just to save some bandwidth as we get started here. So go, okay. And yes, welcome to our coaches meeting for the 2022 Battle of the Books.
Simone, now we can't hear you.
Yes, Stacy, I am here. I'm trying to advance my slide here, which looks a little frozen. Give me just one moment. Let me see what's wrong. There we go. Sorry about that. So sorry, guys. So tonight's goals for this meeting are to go over the goals for the students, coaches' responsibilities, prep tips and sample types of questions, review the books, costumes, signs, important dates, and parent responsibilities. So goals for our students are, as always, to build teamwork skills, learn good sportsmanship skills, read different genres. Examples are science fiction, graphic novels, nonfiction, increase reading comprehension, and to have fun. Our coaches' responsibilities are to, of course, build team spirit and encourage good sportsmanship amongst your team members. Set up regular meetings with your team, encourage and reward students, convey information from HCLS to team members and their parents, and respond to communications from HCLS in a timely manner. So some tips to prepare for the battle are to first decide who will read each book. Make sure that at least 2 team members read each book. The most successful teams have all team members read all the books and assign experts for each book. And again, this year, our book list has 10 books. Decide how often you will meet to discuss the books. Hold mock battles or Jeopardy style games based on the books, and have students compose practice questions to quiz each other during the meetings. Remember, questions on all parts of the books are valid. Contact your school's media specialist to determine if other teams from your school are participating so you can practice together. So sample types of questions. The answer to any type of questions is always the title of the book and the author, as in previous years. So one example can be a direct quote from one of the characters. Here's an example, quote, "I am nothing but a half-crazed, feather-headed old maid," and that's the answer is "Ghosts I Have Been" by Richard Peck. Another example is a statement about something that happens in the book. So in which book does a family's special friend arrive inside the coat of a man looking for a job? And that's How It Was with Dooms by Zan Hopcraft. And of course, these are books from the past, just for any newcomers tonight. Another example is a passage directly from the book. So, quote, "Her hair was yellow and her face was yellow because she had always been ill in one way or another." And that's Secret Garden by Frances Hodgson Burnett. And lastly, details about an illustration or picture. So in which book does a nasty lady wear crescent moon earrings? And that was The Frog Prince, continued by John Sheska. All right. So how does it work? Again, this year, we're going to have a moderator ask questions about the books. The battle includes at least one question about each book, and teams will have 30 seconds again to discuss their answer. And for our 2022 titles, we have Small Spaces by Catherine Arden, Maya and the Rising Dark by Rena Barron. We have Lonnie Johnson's Super Soaking Stream of Inventions by Chris Barton, illustrated by Don Tate, and Dragons in a Bag by Zetta Elliott. And I guess I should say whoosh, Lonnie Johnson's Super Soaking Stream of Inventions. All right, next up is Belly Up, Stuart Gibbs, and Amina's Voice by Henna Khan. And then we have I Survived the Great Chicago Fire, 1870, read by Nicholas Dressel, by Lauren Tarshis, and The Bridge Home by Padma Venkatraman. We have Ways to Make Sunshine by Renee Watson. And lastly, Science Comics Coral Reefs, Cities of the Ocean by Maris Wicks. So costumes for this year, we've already received an email or two with people asking us about costumes or posters. So we just wanted to drop a note here to help everybody be able to kind of get started and have a sense of direction for what we're going to do this year. So as always, we want you to encourage your students' creativity in costumes. And we just really want to note that the judges will look for costumes designed and produced by students and reward creativity and use of recycled items or just, inventiveness. Just pretty much this is saying not just store-bought costumes, but costumes that the students really take their time to create and be resourceful. We'll get some favor from the judges. Costumes must comply with requirements listed in HCPSS policy 9210, student dress code, including but not limited to no gory costumes and no masks. Costumes may not include toys that resemble weapons. If you are not allowed to wear it in school, you are not allowed to wear it to the Battle of the Books.
Hey, Simone, I'm just going to jump in here for a second because I'm reading this and thinking of what that means in 2021 and 2020 when we say no masks. When we said no masks, or that was in the guidelines, those are masks that covered the eyes or kind of the face. Obviously, students will be required to wear masks, the face mask that they wear in school now. So I just wanted to share that too. Oh, there she is. Let's give her a second to come back. While we're waiting, I'm going to ask, again, in the chat, it's really only for technical questions. If you have a question about the actual battle, please put it in the Q&A section, because that's where we're going to answer the questions from.
Yes. And Stacy, can you hear me well?
I can hear you, yes.
Sorry about that. I apologize. I got kicked off, but I switched networks here, and hopefully that will help. Okay. All right. So let me, I was on costumes. Did you hear all of the information for this slide?
We can't see the slide.
Oh, let's see.
We got to reshare.
Let me. There we go.
And several people have asked while we're waiting. We can post this PowerPoint slideshow onto the website, and it's hclibrary.org/Battle of the Books. That'll take you to the Battle of the Books landing page, and we should have this up there, as well as it'll take us longer because we're going to have to edit the transcript a little bit for the video. And as we flash by the I Survived page, the graphic that was given to us is a graphic from the audiobook, so you don't have to worry about the red by. That just was an odd coincidence. Here we go.
Perfect. All right, we're back. Sorry about that, everyone. So Stacy, were you able to hear all of the information about costumes? Oh, you're muted.
No, I'm muted. Sorry. The costume policy 9210.
Perfect. Yeah.
And no toys that resemble weapons. Face masks are allowed for the health face masks. And basically, if you're not allowed to wear it in school, you're not allowed to wear it for Battle of the Books.
Correct. Yep. Thank you. All right, and jumping into signs. So posters for this year, teams are allowed to create a sign for the team to hold when marching into the event to identify the team. Signs should be no larger than a standard poster board, 22-inch by 28-inch. Book titles, authors, and or covers may not be part of the team's costume or your sign or your poster. Signs also need to be stored during the battle, so just keep note of that. And as far as our important dates, so we have our book pickups coming up. I just want to clarify, because we received some emails, as I shared with Stacy and I think Carrie earlier, that just remembering that there are some people who are very used to this event, and there are some folks who are very new to this event. Just a reminder that the books are free. You get a bag of all 10 books that is for your team to share, distribute, read, practice, and you keep the books. You don't return the books to the library. Of course, you can donate the books. You can, give it to, allow the students to keep it, the coach can keep it, but we don't need the books back. They are free. Thanks to our generous sponsors, they're free to you. And you pick them up at our Miller building. So book pickups will happen on December 2nd from 5 to 7 p.m., December 3rd from 11 a.m. to 1 p.m., and December 4th from 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. So this is a Thursday, Friday, Saturday pattern. So you'll have toward the end of the week, to find a slot and pick up your book. You can sign up for a slot at the following link: contactless pickup for book sets for teams. You can find this on our Battle of the Books page as well, hclibrary.org/Battle of the Books. You can click the link there to sign up for one of these 3 slots to pick up your books. We will be, there are more details, of course, in the sign up information, but we will be distributing books from our Miller Library out of our Avalon meeting room. So you just park your car, you walk up the sidewalk to the door of the meeting room, and we hand you your books. We check you off of the list. February 7th is our—
Simone, I'm sorry, can
Yes.
I interrupt for a second?
Sure.
So you can actually come into the library, because when we did it last year like that, the library was closed, but we're open now. So you don't have to, it'll be easier actually if you come inside the building to the Avalon room, just because that way we don't have to keep the door open and it's already getting cold out. So that will make everyone happy, because we don't have, before we couldn't have, we had to have fewer people in the room and all of that, but since we are open, you can come into the actual library and then come into the room to get your bag.
Thank you, Stacy.
Sure.
And then February— no problem. Thank you. So February 7th is our very important deadline for permission forms, team name changes, the final list of team players, your signed participation and photo release forms. So those permission forms that come out. And then, of course, any notice of special accommodations for your students need to come to us by February 7th. So write to the Bob alias. And March 22nd at 7 p.m. This is our tentative date for the mandatory logistics meeting. It's going to also take place via Zoom. That date will not really change much. If it does, it'll still be within that week, if everything is, going as planned. And April 22nd, 2022 is still our Battle of the Books date, tentatively. Again, we are just making final confirmations on our spaces, but we are very much moving in the direction of an in-person, safe, comfortable, physical battle with some, physical battle doesn't sound good together. In-person Battle of the Books event. We don't want to have physical battles. But yeah, we're moving toward an in-person event. And of course, considering accommodations for our DEC student participants who will, of course, prefer to be in a virtual setting. And that, I think, is it. So, parent responsibilities. So just respond to communications from coaches in a timely manner. That's for all of our parents. Check the FAQs at hclibrary.org/Battle of the Books. And more details to come on arrival times and expectations for the event. So just hang tight for that, where to drop off, what time, and how we are going to handle all of the participants as well as members of the community. And as always, we thank our generous sponsors who make this event possible: the Josephine B. Scheffenacker Education Trust, Friends and Foundation of HCLS, Howard County Public School System, and the Yolanda and Frank Bruno Family Fund. All right. And this is our last slide, so I will just leave this up as we get into our questions, our Q&A, Stacey.
Okay. So again, I'm going to ask, because I think there are some things going up in chat. So if you could put it in the Q&A, that way we can just have to worry about one place. Okay, let's start with our questions. Are there methods help for coaches to run the meetings? Are we provided with questions to pose to the kids on each book for the meetings? So we don't necessarily have methods to help you run the meetings. This is something that you can play by ear. You can talk with other coaches from your school. Basically, the most important thing here is this is not the SATs here. We want the kids to have fun. And we want them to have fun reading the books. We want them to have fun talking about the books. So though that's a very important element of it. I will tell you, once for the battle, when they are answering questions, they are going to always need the title of the book and the author's name. So even before um, your team members have received the books, or even before they've read the books, you the book list is on the website, so you can have them practice matching the title of the book and the author's name, because that is a big help for them. Because once that becomes a second nature to them, that's the easy part. And then they'll have to decide which book, once they know which book they're talking about, they'll already automatically know the author's name with it. So that's a great way, that's a great thing to get them started. You also want them to practice working together as a team, and they do that in school already. But that's something that will help the team also work together and be more successful. We do not provide you with questions to pose to the kids for each book for the meetings. That is up to you to come up with practice questions. I will say long ago when my daughter participated, and I know other teams have done this too, they had the students write questions for the books, and they like to make them really hard for each other. So that would be a good way to do that. Okay, next, is there a best practice method for book sharing amongst the books? That I don't know how to answer that, because number one, we're still during COVID. Number two, it very much depends on your team, where they, how close you are to each other, where they live, if you could do it through school. So I would talk to the other parents to see. Some people, like if you share addresses, they would do porch drop-offs. So you could do kind of a round robin. Sometimes the teams would, at a meeting, they would bring the books and then just pass them along at the meeting. So those are some possible answers. Sending the slides, we're not going to send the slides, we will post them on the website. Have official emails gone out indicating that teams have been formally set? I completed the registration form this morning, but that opened and I have receipt of my submission, but haven't heard anything about official acceptance. If you got an email giving you the link to this meeting, then you are officially accepted. Okay, if you have further questions, if you have something specific about your specific team, the best way to get an answer is to email us at bob@hclibrary.org. That way we can answer your question about your team. Just to be clear, each team gets a set of all of these books, correct? Yes, that is correct. You get a bag of the 10 books. It is not per team member, it is per team. So you will be sharing those books. So please keep that in mind. Are there any trick questions, i.e. questions where the answer is none of the 10 assigned books? No, we might have tricky questions where it could be one of two books, but there's always going to be a single answer, but the answer will always be one of those 10 books. Next question is, who are the judges? That's an excellent question, and we do not know at this time. We usually know closer to the battle. Okay, how many total questions are asked during the battle? In the before times, we had 50 questions divided into 4 rounds with 12 to 13 questions per round, and then we had a break between the two. The first 2 rounds, the second 2 rounds. This is one that we are still contemplating. Last year, when it was a virtual battle, we had 40 questions. So right now, the answer I'm going to give you is somewhere between 40 and 50 questions for the battle. Okay. Will the Bob 21-22 be online or on site? Our goal is for it to be on site, so in person. We do, again, in the middle of a global pandemic, things are changing all the time. Our goal is to be in person. We do have a special instance with the Digital Education Center, and they will be able to participate virtually. that how that is going to happen, we do not have a definite answer for yet, but it will happen that way. Can the kids have hats as part of their costume? Yes, yes, they can. What is the purpose of the costume? Is that required? The purpose of the costume was kind of another fun element of the battle. Some people made these costumes very, very elaborate. That is certainly not required. Some teams had just t-shirts with their team name on it, and that is totally fine. One thing about the costumes that Simone mentioned briefly, this is a student competition, and we want the costumes to reflect things that the students are putting together. So we're looking back at the possibility of having the costumes judged. And if that is the case, they will be judged on originality and creativity in the light of how it was student created. So something that was student created would get would have a much better chance than something that was store bought. We could say that. Will we get to see the answer card sample? We had it posted before, and I'm fairly certain it's going to be the same, but we'd have to double check, because again, I really apologize. There's so many things in flux that it's hard to give a hard and fast definite answer. We will post the answer card sample on our website. It was basically, we were trying to take handwriting and spelling out of the mix. So they would circle a letter for a title and a number for an author, or vice versa. So there's not a whole lot of handwriting there. If it is not there, will hopefully be up there soon. And that is something that once we get the coach's handbook finalized, that'll be in there as well.
Yeah.
Okay. Miss the first few minutes. Final decision made as to whether the battle will be in person or virtual. No, the final decision has not been made, but we are hoping and planning as if we will have an in-person battle, and with the virtual component for the DEC students. Okay, can additional team members be added at a later date? Yes, team members can be added or removed up until February 7th. So if you need to make a change to your team roster, that includes your team name, any members of your team, if you have to make changes to your coach, all of that can be done by emailing us at bob@hclibrary.org. So bob@hclibrary.org. Okay. A minute. I'm sorry. Okay, so let's see. Wait, my Q&A seem to have frozen. So Carrie or Simone, I might need you to read me questions, because we froze again.
Okay, next question is on costumes again.
Okay.
What are the costumes supposed to represent? You kind of answered that already. But the part of it is team names or characters from the books was the second part.
Oh, so it usually represents your team name. We try to not have characters in the book, because I mean, I guess you can. You just want it to, you don't want to be a walking hint for different books, I think.
Okay.
Okay.
I've heard it mentioned that questions could refer to the specific editions of the books that were being given, including illustrations. If we want to purchase additional copies ourselves, how can we make sure we're getting the right editions?
So on the website is a PDF of the printable list, a printable book list, and on that printable book list is the ISBN of the books that were purchased. So if you purchase a book using that ISBN, you will have the same version.
Okay, question about the slides again from the info meeting being shared since it had video clips from each book. It is already on the Bob website.
Okay.
And next one, we have a student who only speaks Spanish. She does not read or speak English. She also cannot read Spanish. Our girls want to include her. Is there a role accommodations for her? If not, can we substitute her for another girl that doesn't have a team?
Wow. I think that's a question that you're going to need to email us about. I don't know that if she's not able to read at all, what, like, she could have an unofficial role with the team, not necessarily be a team member. Maybe some kind of helper to still include her. But I would check in also with the school media specialist, but email us. You would probably need to, you could substitute somebody else for her. Just get us the information before February 7th.
Yeah, if I can add to that, I would definitely start with the email to us so we can see how she can be accommodated, the student. If translation is a possibility for her, even if she's not reading, if we can book a translator to help her, there might be some possibilities we can explore to make sure she's included. So I would start with emailing us first. Thanks.
Are the students expected to memorize all the titles, authors in order to answer, or are they allowed to have the book list to refer to?
So typically you want them to memorize trust me, you want them to memorize the titles and authors, and they only have 10 to worry about this year. They are going to get a reference sheet that will list, there's 10 books, but the reference sheet could have anywhere from 15 to 20 titles and authors, which means that there are titles and authors that are close to the titles that they should have read, but not exact. So they'll be using that, and they'll want to know, they'll want to know the titles and authors. So they'll be able to get that correct, but no, they will not be able to have their the book list with them.
Okay, getting help on how to run meetings and receiving questions on each book. That information was already given, and there's more information in the FAQs, but it's up to each team to determine how they want to do that. How often do you recommend teams meet leading up to the battle?
That's up to your team. You want to talk to the students and possibly the parents, because a lot of it depends on how often they can meet. I think in the beginning, you might be once or twice a month, and then as you get closer, you might be every week. But you just want to check in with your team to find out how much time people are available.
Okay, next question is about receiving confirmation about team's acceptance. Stacy had already said if you got the email to attend the mandatory coaches meeting tonight, then your team has been accepted. Our group is Bookbusters. We have costumes created from Ghostbusters for Halloween. Do you think the blaster thing would be considered a weapon?
That would be a yes.
Will non-coach parents be able to view the battle virtually?
That is a question that we are not 100% sure of. But I'm guessing if we are in person, it's going to be hard to have filming.
If we're in person, we're not going to stream the battle.
Okay.
And if it's a virtual battle, of course, like last year, and again, just reminding everyone that we are making plans and efforts to have the in-person battle with one virtual location. But if it's a virtual battle for any reason that comes up, we will, of course, like last year, parents can watch from their student screens.
How is the actual battle done? Is it round robin and each group gets a chance to answer a different question, or is it first to raise hand or buzz in? It's multiple choice. Stacy, anything else?
So basically the teams sit in a grid and the moderator asks the question and everyone gets the same chance to answer every question. So they're going to have an answer card and they're going to fill out the answer, whether it's circling a number or letter and a number corresponding to the title and the author. And they have, if we are in person, then we'll have 30 seconds to do that. When the time is called, we have runners who grab the cards and take them up to the judges in the front. So everyone has the same opportunity to answer every question, and it's not, you don't have to answer the fastest, you don't have to wait your turn. Everyone gets the same chance to answer every question.
Okay, where do we find the forms?
They should go up, they should be up on the website fairly soon. Usually we wait until after this meeting to get them up, so that way people who haven't been, that way people aren't sending them too early. But I would keep an eye out for sure after Thanksgiving.
Okay, and that answers the next question about permission forms, release forms.
Mhm.
They'll be there soon. And where do we get, okay, same thing.
Hey, Simone, if I'm wondering if you stop sharing your screen. Wait a minute. Let me see if I go back up. No, I was trying to see if maybe you stop sharing your screen. Maybe that would help my frozenness.
Okay,
But
well, while they're doing
Oh,
that, we can answer some
yeah.
of these.
Stacy,
Okay.
I found turning off my video very helpful earlier while I switched my network over, but that's up to you.
let's see if that does that.
So the next question
No.
is, how do we submit team name changes? You submit that to bob@hclibrary.org. Do you have time for Battle of the Books since it is on a Friday? The battle starts at 7 p.m. and goes until it is finished.
Yes.
And it's after library hours on Friday and after school hours. If there's any other questions specific to that, you can also email the bob@hclibrary.org.
And the other piece to that is we want to give parents time to get home from work and kids a chance to eat dinner. So that's why it's at 7.
Sorry, I had to mute. Do you send out the photo release and permission forms to coaches? That information will be on the website soon. Okay, somebody asked if Bob's in person. That's what we're planning for. Other than the Digital Education Center students, we'll have a virtual option. Battle locations are still being determined at this time and not yet finalized. So are you still so frozen, Stacy?
Can you hear me? Because I can't.
Yeah, I can hear you. I can read.
Okay, so you can hear me, but I can't get my video back on.
Okay. Will the questions be?
I'll sit in the dark.
Okay.
Go
Will
ahead.
the questions be in an MCQ format, or are the children required to write the name of the book? So they're circling the answers.
Yeah, I don't know what MCQ means. Multiple choice question? I don't know.
Oh yeah. Okay. Yes, multiple choice. They circle their answers. Was there a time posted for the battle? It would be 7 p.m., but everyone, the teams all have to be checked in before that, and the details will be coming as we get closer to the battle. Is it possible to share a list of teams and schools? Stacy.
So we don't share that information, but I do know that Melissa Daggett, who is in charge of the media specialists at the school system, does have a list of all the teams from each school. So she is going to be sharing that out with the media specialists at each school. So I think she's going to do that tomorrow morning. So maybe give her give her an extra day or so grace period. So maybe by Wednesday, check in with your school's media specialist, and they should have a list of the teams from your school.
Okay. So the next question is, our team has a high school student as an assistant coach. Could they claim service hours through our library system? As it is, if it's a school team, you'd work that out through your school. Since we are not supervising the work of that student, that would not come from us at the library. So if you are a school team, see if you can work that out through the school system.
And Carrie, I'm sorry, did they say that the student is a coach?
Assistant coach.
Assistant coach, okay. I was gonna mention being over 18.
Mhm.
Yes. To be a coach and on the floor the night of the battle, yes, you must be over 18. Has there been an email sent that verified team registrations? Not that verified registrations, but if you got the email to attend here tonight, then your team has been accepted. What is the link to sign up for book pickup? Stacy, I don't.
That will
Is
be,
that on the website, Simone?
that will, it may be at this moment. If not, it'll be up this week for sure. That'll be on the Bob website, our page. So aclibrary.org/battle of the books.
Okay, next question, I'm not sure what it's talking about. Names of team members is all it says. I'll dismiss that one. Sample questions, there should be back up with coach's handbook soon, right, Stacy?
Yeah, but there's usually sample questions on the website as well. And let me see. I'm trying to look real fast, but
You can get
there's
back to us.
yeah, check the website, but we don't have questions for each we don't have questions for each book
Okay.
for this year. We just have samples of the different types of questions.
Okay. Next one is, would it be okay to ask a student who isn't part of a team to act as a junior coach and ask them to help create questions and come to the meet as a coach to cheer them on? If they are under the age of 18 and they're not an official team member, they will not be able to come to the battle unless they have their own team. But you're welcome to have anybody help your team prepare. How do we access our team page to update team names? Email the bob@hclibrary.org. And there'll be information coming out about any additional changes that need to be made. Okay, we already answered photo release. Can the team bring any aids or notes to the battle?
Nope. That is a big no.
Are the students responsible for completing the forms or the coaches? The coaches.
It's the coach and it's actually the parent. The form. I don't know if you mean the answer form, or are you talking about the forms like voter release forms? If you're talking about the forms the day of the battle, like for the battle for each question, then it's the students who are filling out those forms. If you're talking about the like voter release and permission slip forms, those are the parents filling those out.
Yep.
Okay, next one's about the mailing list. If you have questions for Battle of the Books, email bob@hclibrary.org to make sure your communications and emails are correct. Is there an archive of questions from previous years that we can view to get a date? There's just sample questions. What happened if one participant decides to drop off? Can someone else join the group?
As long as it's before February 7th, they can. You would just send an email to bob@hclibrary.org and let us know the name of the person who is dropping out and add the name of the person who is joining.
And also just make sure that you have at least 3 participants. If that happens on the day of the event, you want to have at least 3 participants in order to be part of the battle.
Okay, what parts of the book can questions come from? Will there be questions from author notes, bibliographies, inside covers, etc.?
Every single part of the book is open for questions, and for the second part, yes, it can. We have gotten things from author notes. You think about something that is going to be unique to the book. We are looking at all aspects. It could be the cover, it could be a glossary, it could be an author's note. So really think about those things. Captions for photos, those are good places to look for ideas for questions. So you really want to become an expert on these books. And that is exactly the reason we gave you an ISBN for each book, because in the past we've had people say, oh, I had a different edition and they had different pictures, or it was a different cover, and that just threw too many wrinkles into everything. So this way everybody is looking at the same material and has the same chance, so we are able to pull materials from any place in those books.
And for anyone that joined later tonight's meeting, there are a few sample questions within this PowerPoint presentation, which is going to be up on the website. It's not as long as the list that goes up, but there are a couple if you need to see an example.
Is the battle timed?
So each question you have 30, when it's in person, each question you have 30 seconds to answer. So in that respect, it is timed.
I get there's thousands of pages from which questions can come. Seems like you should provide best methods and ideas for teams.
Well, I mean, that's a good point, but the best method is to have, very often we have students who will become, instead of reading necessarily all 10 books, they might read 2 or 3 books with a very close eye, and they're going to read them you're going to read the books multiple times if you're the expert on that book. So you really know everything about that book. They are also not reading War and Peace either. So it's not, the books are not hugely long. So it's, it's easier than you think. It seems daunting, but as the kids get into it, they really do know those books backwards and forwards. And some teams might have a reluctant reader or someone who isn't as fond of reading the longer books, and there are very short books that we have on the list. The Lonnie Johnson book, Whoosh, it's a picture book biography. So that is also a fairly short book. There's at least one graphic novel, The Coral Reefs, which is a different kind of book, which someone who might not want to read a lot of chapters would, very gladly dive into, no pun intended, the Coral Reefs book, and want to read it multiple times and get the information.
And you can keep in mind that we try to think of questions from each book that won't give it away without you having to think about it a little bit. Does each team get the 10 book packets plus the coach, or do they have to share one pack of 10 books? One pack of 10 books for everyone on that team.
If you think about it, we have close to 300 teams. So that's a lot of books, and we have very generous sponsors who allow us to buy these books for the teams. So it would be completely out of our abilities to purchase a set of books for every team member.
Okay, how do they share their answers the night of the battle? Do they write them down or give them verbally? So they're circling their answers, and then the moderator will read the answers once all the answers have been submitted, so that you know if you got the answer correct or not. So are you allowed to bring paper with names and titles? You'll be given the titles of the books and authors, but they'll also be incorrect titles and authors that are not part of this battle that may be similar.
you're going to be provided everything that you need. You're going to be provided the answer cards. You're going to be provided pencils, erasers, a pencil sharpener, a clipboard to lean on. The only thing that you need to bring is yourself. So you should not and are not allowed to have anything other than yourself.
Okay, next couple of questions are about when should teams meet? They can start meeting whenever you're ready. Consider your team members' schedules outside of school hours and decide how often you want to meet. Maybe meet less often in the beginning and then more often as you get closer to the battle. It's totally up to each team. Yes, so we answered, yes, there's going to be a random list of titles and books and authors for their answers that night, in addition to incorrect authors. So they just have to choose the right one. So book pickup, you already answered. Stacy, Simone,
Yes.
You guys still there?
Yeah, I'm still here. Sorry.
Can't see anybody
I feel like
anymore.
I'm sitting in the dark here.
No, we're here. Yeah, book pickups. What is the entire question?
You're going to sign up for a time in the email that you got that had the link to register for this Zoom meeting. There was also a link to register for a time slot to pick up your books. So hopefully you were able to do that. We can check tomorrow morning to see how we can, if we need to resend that link out. When you get your time slot, you're going to come over. It's going to be at the Miller Library, and we're in the Avalon room. So you're going to come down to the Avalon room, let us know your team name and your school, and we will give you your set of books for your team.
Okay, so next couple questions are similar. How do we get a list of other teams at your same school? So your best option is to reach out to the media specialist. If you are working at the school, the media specialist.
If you're a parent, you're still going to want to reach out to the media specialist. They are the ones that have the information. We are not, we at the library are not handing out the information about the teams. That portion is going through the school.
Okay. Is the coach of a whole team or just a single student? The whole team.
Coaching the entire team.
Are you permitted to meet in person with the team? That is totally up to your team. I'm dismissing questions we've already answered, but as we get towards the end, if somebody missed the answers, you can ask them again. Will coaches have access to parent emails for team members? You should be asking for that information.
Yeah, when you registered, hopefully you were able to get the parents' emails. If you do not have contact information on your team for your team members' parents, that again, you're going to need to check in with your media specialist because they will have that information.
Okay, so next couple of questions are related. How many teams will answer in one round? Every single team needs to provide an answer. It is all done in writing, meaning they circle the answers. Only the moderator gives the answers once all the answer cards have been submitted. So it's related to the other question. And says during the battle, will students have opportunity to discuss with team members before answering? Yes.
30 seconds.
That's what the 30 seconds is. And that's one thing, that's a really good thing to practice with your team, is how to discuss the answer, and also how to settle disputes about if two different people in the team think it's two different titles. They need to practice figuring out how to solve that problem, to figure out what answer they are going to put down. One of the things that was not in the PowerPoint that I feel like we've done in the past was the scoring.
We haven't
So-
made a decision
Oh,
about
okay.
scoring.
Okay,
So
that's why.
yeah,
Okay. We're
yeah,
gonna have a
that's
really
why
long
we
meeting in March.
yeah, and in December. So we haven't made a final decision about scoring overall yet, but we will get there. And we are also we mentioned the costume category and poster categories. We are also still confirming
That's not what I meant.
our judging categories. Go ahead, Stacy.
I meant how many points they get for each question.
Right. I think we haven't made a final
We
decision.
haven't made that
Yeah.
decision yet either. Okay. Okay.
Yeah. And then I just wanted that you mentioned the 30 seconds for teams to respond and made me think about the event time. We mentioned earlier that we're going to reduce the amount of questions, but there will still be 2 rounds and there will still be a break for students in between. So we will still have a break, whether there's 40 questions, 30 questions. They'll be split in half, 2 rounds with a break in the middle for kids, for students. Thanks.
Okay. So let's see if we can, bunch of short questions here. Let's see if we can get through these quickly because we still have about 20 questions. Are there kinds or categories of questions we should be practicing answers for? That information is on the Bob webpage. Stacy, anything to add?
So just to quickly summarize, so there could be a question about pictures or photographs in the book. It could be an actual photograph. It could be the pictures for something that's in a picture book. It could be little pictures that are at the start of every chapter. So you want to look carefully around there. It could be just a summary about something that happened in the book, in which book did a little mouse save a princess. So it could be something very general like that. It could be an exact quote from a book or a direct passage. If it is a direct passage, we will always start that question with the word quote. If it could also be a direct quote from a character, that is another time when it will start with the word quote. If you hear the word quote at the beginning of a question, that means that it came directly from the book. And I think those are the 4 types of questions that we could be asking. And again, those should be on the website.
Okay, so is there a winning team per battle site or just one winner overall? If there are multiple sites, there is a winner at each site.
A winning team at each site.
Yes, yes.
Yep, if we score.
Yeah.
There's not a battle off or anything like that.
All teams get the same set of books. Is one kid the spokesperson for the group? If in person, one team member circles the answers because you are only handing in one answer card.
So how you do that is up to the team. And as a spokesperson, they are not literally speaking. We usually call them a recorder, and they're the one recording the answers. And you can decide how you want to do that. Some teams decide they want the same person to do it for the entire battle. Some people say we're going to switch after each round. Some people say we're going to switch after each question. We used to say, please pick the person who has the most legible handwriting, or make sure people who have legible handwriting are the ones doing it. But since you're not writing out answers, you're only circling things, that's not as important. But that is totally up to you, and something that you can decide is who is the recorder, and if it's that one person the entire time, or if you switch.
Okay. Will there be varied locations for schools to have in-person battles to limit the number of students? We still don't know the final number of locations, but each site would have approximately 50 teams of 5 students each, plus audience members. So they will not be social distanced within their own grid if we are doing the prior to COVID format, but all of those details are still being determined. Where shall we log in to change information? Email bob@hclibrary.org.
Yeah, you can't change it yourself. You have to send us an email.
How will questions be displayed? The questions are not displayed. They are read out loud verbally. So if any of your students need accommodations, just you'll email the Bob alias to let us know. I know in the past we've had students that had the speaker devices, or we've had students that have had interpreters that evening.
And for the
Please.
sorry, Carrie, for the virtual location, that might work a little differently, just in case there's like transcription on the screen. The questions may, be read that way, but there will be a moderator in that setting as well, asking the questions to the students.
Quiz structure, we haven't made final determinations. What was said earlier was how we've done it in the past with 4 rounds of 12 to 14 questions, but this year we're also looking at maybe doing the structure a little bit differently. So that information will be finalized for the final logistics meeting. The 2020 book list is on the Bob website. Isn't it under the current video from the informational meeting, Stacy, Simone?
It's further down on the page, but it's on the Bob page, a little further down.
It is actually right below. It's in a little gray square right above the 2022 important dates. I'm looking at it right now.
Okay. Do teams leave as others advance? There is no advancing of teams. Every team answers every question, and then when we score, there's final scores.
If there's scoring involved, it's not going to happen. Teams don't know. They won't know their actual scores. So it's not like we say after the first round, we give placements of scores.
So when you say a costume will have a better chance, a chance at what? It does not factor into any scoring. I think what was being referred to was if they are student-made costumes and there were to be judging, that may have more consideration than a store-bought costume. Is that what it was, Stacy?
Yes,
that's correct.
Yeah. It doesn't have anything to do with the score of the actual battle. And I know it's kind of frustrating. It's frustrating for us too, because there's so many things that we can't predict things the way we used to back in the before times, before COVID. So there's a lot of things that we are still trying to figure out, because this year it's hugely different than when we were totally in person. And even it's very different than what we did last year. So we just really appreciate your patience with us as we try and figure out the best direction to go in. So a lot of these things, unfortunately, we're still working on that. So we will do our best to have developments posted on our website. And when absolutely necessary, if it's something more urgent, we can email out to the coaches.
It says, will the answer to the question always be the name of the book? The answer to the question will always be the name of the book and the author of the book. What will be the duration of the Battle of the Books? It will depend on how many teams are at each site and
the amount of questions.
Yeah, the amount of questions. Like I said, we're considering changing that a little bit. Let's see. Okay, so if you can't be here on April 22nd, the question is, can a parent or supporter of the group fill in on that day? So I believe that day, if the coach and assistant coach are not able to be there, yes, any parent from the team may fill in the coach's spot that day.
This sounds terrible, but if you're over 18 and breathing, we'll take you. The coaches, you are very important. to helping the students get ready for the battle and to be there for the battle. But we've had various things that happen at the very last minute where something happened. Or we've had things where the coach knew that they weren't going to be there that day, but really wanted to guide the team. And that's totally fine. We just need to find another adult to sit with the team and be there for them that day.
Hey, Carrie, just as a check-in, it's 8:07. How many more questions would you say we have?
They still keep coming in, about 10.
Okay.
So if we can do the next ones quickly.
Yeah.
There's a couple of new questions here. Let's see, I'll try to skip ones that we did
Yeah.
answer before. They're just
Mhm.
formatted in a different way.
Mhm.
So if we had a mixed team, DEC students and in-person students, I'm assuming we would have to pick in-person versus virtual as a team for the battle.
That
right?
is
So-
correct. Yep.
Yeah.
No, yeah. The DEC teams need to be a whole team, and DEC students can participate with their digital education classes or with their homeschool, but the team as a whole needs to pick one location, one setting.
Okay. Teams get to keep the books forever. If you don't want them
Yes.
anymore, you can donate them.
Please don't donate them back to the library because we'll have lots of copies already. You could donate them to a little free library if you want. You can check in to see if your media center might, or your classroom teachers might want copies of the books. You can, I mean, there's all different, there are plenty of places that would love to have donations of books if your team does not want them.
Okay, so can we talk about signs? Do teams need them and how many? If the teams are in person, there's information in the coach's manual on the size of the sign and how to make it. The main purpose is to let the photographer know the name of your team.
Yeah, the most important thing is the name of your team and your school, because there are lots of teams out there, and sometimes there's a lot of team names are very close or similar to each other. This way we know which team is which and from which school they came from. And as far as the size goes, it would be the largest size you could have as a standard piece of tag board, which is about 22 by 26, I think, something in that range. But if you go 28, so if you go to Michael's or Walmart or Target or someplace and just take a piece of tag board, that would be that size. And so we don't have the custodians in the high school gyms hate us. Please refrain from using glitter, feathers, and other things that might fly off. In the past, students had to hold on to their signs and they had to place them under their mats in their grid. So you also want to make sure that it's flat so it is not uncomfortable to sit on.
Yeah,
Okay.
and I think this was part of the question. It's one sign per team. So one
Yes.
poster board per team.
Yes.
Okay, so there's a bunch of questions here. How to reserve books from the library? You just go to the library's website, or if you're in the library itself, you can ask for assistance, pull up the book titles and place a hold on the book.
It's no different than requesting anything else. Sorry.
Yeah, that's fine. Can you recommend books on the list that would be easier for a struggling reader? We made sure there are all different reading levels and many other factors in the book. Off the top of my head, I missed that meeting. So
the
Stacey.
Whoosh, I'm trying to see because I don't have the books in front of me. Whoosh is a picture book biography, so that's short. Dragons in a Bag and I think Ways to Make Sunshine are both, I feel like both of them are on the younger end of the spectrum. So they might be good ones for reluctant readers. Coral Reefs is kind of the opposite, even though it's a graphic novel. It is a nonfiction book and there is, I think, more text there. So that might be one that's a little bit harder.
Okay, here's a couple of questions about accommodations. Someone is hearing impaired. We do not give hard copies of the questions at the battle, but the school system does have accommodations that can be requested. You have to request it through your child's school. I know some of the hearing impaired students have devices that they wear that the moderators and others can read into, but check with your child's school to put in those accommodation requests like that. If a student has a 504 plan, same thing. Accommodations can be made, but reach out to your child's school depending on what the accommodations are, and then they will let us know if there's something we need to do. But as we're at school sites, they take care of filling those accommodations.
And actually, I would request that you reach out to both of us, just so we have it on our radar.
Oh, yes, yes.
Because when there is an accommodation that needs to be made, we have, for the staff that's working the battle, we have information that we have to make sure that everything is in place. So yeah.
Okay. Is it 12 to 14 questions per team? Every team is asked the exact same questions in the exact same number of questions. How many possible answers are in each or on each answer sheet? So there's a sheet where they can read the answers, and the answer sheet is just letters and numbers that they circle.
Yeah, so it's not a multiple choice question in that way. The answer card has a list of 20 letters and 20 numbers. I think it's 1 to 20 and A through T. And you're going to have a reference sheet, and that reference sheet has the list of the 20 titles and 20 authors all mixed up, and extra red herrings in there to make it a little bit more difficult. So for you have that same reference sheet that you use for the entire battle. So they'll be using that, and they'll have each answer card. You do one card for each question, because at the end of the question, they will collect the cards.
I guess I read this wrong. We got a lot of questions, but a lot of them are the same. Okay, what's the purpose of having 15 to 20 books, titles, authors, if they are not correct? Would it be prudent for the kids to go through and mark off the incorrect ones? Many teams do that. Within their first question round, they'll cross off the ones right away they know are not correct for the battle.
We're still helping them make some decision making. Yes, we're trying to make it a little bit harder by having some extra titles, and that's one of the reasons we were saying that yes, it is important for them to memorize the titles and authors.
Mm-hmm.
So
it is to create a challenge, but it's something we omitted last year, just given the nature of the pandemic and everything the students were already kind of going through. So we did not do that during the virtual battle last year. So like Stacey said, we have to decide this year if we are definitely going to do that.
Okay, if there's in-person battles, will there be limits on number of guests per person per team?
yes.
Yeah.
Normally there's a limit of 2, but it could be smaller if we already have a floor full of kids. We just have to see where we are at that time with COVID.
Mm-hmm.
Are the costumes mandatory? No, they are not. How are winners determined if all groups have time to answer?
Not everybody's going to get them right.
The most correct answers from a team would be tabulated on site, and then that team would be announced if we do scoring.
Okay. How many teams total participating? There's about 300 right now, but that number changes as teams drop out closer to the battle.
Mm-hmm.
And that's spread out across multiple locations, just in
Mm-hmm.
case the person asking doesn't know. So not all 300 teams in one spot necessarily. That's usually spread out.
Okay. Where is the team typically held in person? I'm sorry, battle typically held in person? High school gymnasiums. So it's a matter of which gymnasiums are available on the night we choose, because we have to have multiple locations.
And the high schools have they have sports and concerts and things going on. So we have to be careful not to have too many conflicts, because if nothing else, there'll be no place for anyone to park.
Okay, so says here the book pickup link in the slide is not working, but there should be a book pickup link on the web page, if not now, soon, right?
Yeah, it's not there right now, but we can see if we can get it added.
We'll have it, yeah. We mentioned earlier that we'll have it live this week. So just keep an eye out for that.
Okay. This one says if 5 girls are signed up, but 1 gets sick, can we still, is there a penalty the night of the battle? As long as you have 3 team members, they can still participate in the battle. If the number goes down below 3 the night of the battle, the remainder will not be able to participate. But what has often happened, the few times that's happened, is there were multiple teams from the same school that had small numbers, and they just absorbed those other team members into their teams for that night. Says, are the students to know the answers off the top of their heads?
Yes.
Yes, but they'll have the answers in front of them. They just have to choose the right ones.
They'll have titles and authors in front of them, but they have to know the answer from which book that question came from.
Sorry, it's taking longer now to read through the ones we already answered. If fives are in person, are siblings invited? There's no room capacity wise.
Yeah, we've already, even before, it was only 2 people per 2 tickets per person or per team member. And it's probably going to be reduced because of COVID. And honestly, for younger kids, this is not exciting at all. We used to joke that it was kind of like watching your kid take the SAT. Because I mean, they're sitting there writing. I mean, there's fun in the procession and other pieces, but for a younger sibling, it is too antsy, and you can't let them loose by themselves in the hallways of the school. Someone has to accompany them. So if you're the parent, you would not be able to watch either because you're out with the younger child.
Okay.
And Carrie, a time check for you, it's 8:19.
Yep, I'm as you're talking, I'm deleting stuff.
Yeah.
Day of the battle, can the coach and assistant coach attend? Both may attend, but only one of them may be on the floor.
Yeah, and the coach and assistant coach do not need tickets, so that they do not count in the ticket count. And
can the coach get switched out? Well, there's 2 different answers. In person, the coaches actually switch to other teams for the battle. Go ahead.
I was gonna say, I'm not even sure if we're gonna do that.
Yeah, point. we don't know this time,
yeah.
But or if it meant, can the coach be switched with another person to take their place that night, then yes. If a parent needs to take their spot, or the assistant coach.
And another way to answer that too is if you're the coach out on the floor, you're there the whole night unless there's an emergency. You don't do like every other round or after intermission. It's whoever's on the floor stays on the floor.
Okay. Let's see, I'm trying to see if there's anything we haven't answered. How many teams normally compete? About 300. Yeah, somebody's asking if the book review on the back of the book can be considered further questions. Anything that's on the book can be considered part of the book. They're considered for a question. Yeah, a lot of these questions are in here repeatedly. So maybe what we might want to do is say that if we have further questions, if they want to email bob@hclibrary.org. And then also when questions come to the Bob alias, we do post them in our frequently asked questions so other people can see as well. Yeah, so if people are feeling their questions were not answered, I can tell you we've answered every question pretty much multiple times this evening. You can listen to the recording once it's up and available next week. Okay, so here's one we have not answered tonight. Will school teams be grouped together at the same battle locations? That answer is yes, whether it's virtual or in person. All the teams from the same schools will battle
That's
against
true.
each other.
Yeah.
So that question was in there multiple ways. Who are the moderators? We don't yet have that information. We get that closer to battle time. Moderators, judges are usually people from the school system, throughout the county government. Okay, so just a comment about considering having it virtually if there's 300 people in one location for a battle, while 300 teams will not be in one location. 50 teams times 5 students plus 2 coaches plus 2 attendees is a lot of people.
And yeah, and all of that we may not go with our usual capacity, just, you know, given this year, we're trying to make it as comfortable and as safe for everyone. So of course the team will be there, of course coaches will be there, and we'll have to make a decision about an in-person audience at physical locations.
Yep. Here's a question about where do the kids sit? The kids sit on the floor. They are given a mat to sit on.
Like a vinyl tablecloth.
And they need
Don't
to
expect
stay
cushioning.
if it's in the mat, if it's in person, they need to stay confined to their mat because people will be walking up and down the aisles and we don't want anyone tripping. Last day to decide on team names, last day for any changes to the team information is Stacy.
February
February
7th. February
Just
7th.
just testing you. Is there a way to communicate, interact with other coaches, teams in the same school? Yes, just reach out to your media specialist. And we are at the end.
Yay. Good. All right. That was good, yeah. So we of course will accept additional questions to bob@hclibrary.org. If you have any, the PowerPoint from this meeting is going to go up on the website along with the link to register for your book pick updates, and the permission forms will follow that. After Thanksgiving, that'll happen. The permission forms will go up. And that is it. Thank you guys so much.